Hello and welcome. So today's blog is about what to do when you don't get what you want. And this experience can often throw people into a tailspin, especially if getting what they want involves survival, involves putting a roof over your head, putting food in your stomach. So when we don't get what we want, often we start to panic and we start to extrapolate from that experience the worst possibilities. So by looking at that, by looking at what happens when a crucial situation falls through, we can actually see the opportunity in the mix. I'd like to start by reading one of my favorite poems from Rumi, and it's called The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So when we look at what Rumi is saying, we see that when we recognize not having something as an opportunity, then we can grow from that. We can gain some new knowledge. Because if everything you want comes to you easily, there's never a need for you to stop, look within, and say, what am I not aware of here? What am I not learning? What's coming up for me that I normally wouldn't see if everything in my life was going smoothly? So another way of looking at it is if you don't get something you want, then that's exactly as it should be. Everything is right with the world. Everything is correct. If you're walking your path, you will always have what you need. And that's where the difference lies. Everything that you require will show up. Sometimes it's necessary on our paths to have very little, because there's a lot of internal work being done. And by not having much happening externally, it makes us have to go within and do that hard, gritty work of looking at ourselves. So when we lose a job, a partner, a home situation, a pet, someone we love, then we're forced to look at what's going on inside of ourselves in a way that we often don't have to in our day-to-day life. So there's an opportunity there. If you're walking your path, you always have what you need. You may be walking your path and have things be very comfortable, in which case the work becomes subtler. Then you hit a situation where something that you're trying to do isn't happening for you. You have an opportunity there to ask yourself, okay, why did that not occur? What direction am I heading in now? If that door is closing, where's the open window? It sounds cliche, but it's very true. And by looking at our lives that way, we don't waste energy in frustration. We don't bang our heads against a wall saying, why can't I have this? This is what I want. Why is life unfair? Instead of pushing into a situation that's not working for you, it saves you so much aggravation, so much wasted time and energy simply to stop, go within, and ask yourself, what's the message here? What is the universe trying to teach me? Something interesting happens when you start looking at the world around you as a benevolent place to be, always, that whatever happens, someone is trying to gently teach you something. The lesson only has to be harsh. If you're pushing really hard to make something happen that isn't supposed to be there. Somebody once said to me, that there's 3 ways that the universe communicates with us. First, we get a message, then we get a warning, and then we get an event. So, for example, the message might be you stub your toe really hard when you're running around the house trying to accomplish something that's not supposed to happen. Then the warning might be you go outside and the car won't start. And you're still not listening because you're bound and determined to make this thing happen. So you get the car started, and then you end up in an accident. You know, the universe was trying to tell you 3 different times, stop, look within, and pay attention to the message coming up from the subconscious. Listen. So if you're hitting a snag, if things aren't going smoothly, stop, go within, and ask, what's the information here? What are you trying to show me? Okay. You will not always get a clear answer right away. Sometimes this requires patience. Sometimes this requires you to actually sit with yourself and feel all of those tangled emotions you usually like to avoid, especially if you were trying to do something that had to do with your income. It had to do with making things happen in your life for your survival. And if that didn't kick in, now you have to sit with all those feelings coming up from inside of you that had to do with moving forward in that direction. So often, when we're trying to make things happen and they don't, it may be a message that our lives are supposed to take a different direction. If it's something as vital as your work, not having something happen the way you want it to could be a blessing in disguise. It could be a signal that you're supposed to start looking elsewhere. Sometimes the signal comes as illness. People continue every day to get up and do what they've always done, and they start to get ill because they know they're not happy. They know what they're doing is not their calling, but they pursue it anyway because it's the only thing they can see until they get too ill to do it anymore. So life can be smoother. Life can work like clockwork quite beautifully if we recognize that everything happens as it should. Didn't get what you wanted? You weren't supposed to. What you're supposed to get is what you need, and that always comes to you. And the more you walk your path, the more you learn to find your authentic self, listen to it, and go in the direction that it shows you, the more everything you actually need will show up in your life. And what's amazing about that is that your intuition has the big picture. It has a much broader and better idea of what's right for you than the limited ego mind can possibly have. So when you really start tuning into your authenticity, you really start listening to your intuition, and you start going to those open windows seamlessly instead of banging against those closed doors, something amazing happens. A vista opens up and you find a life far happier than you could have imagined for yourself. And the things that do come to you are wonderful. Are you having trouble connecting with your inner self? Are you having trouble hearing that authentic voice? Then have a session with me at my office here in Kelowna or via Skype or phone. Let me help you to connect with your true self and create the life that you've always dreamed of having. Actually, create the life beyond your dreams. Because what's in store for you is so much more than the mind that knocks on the doors can see. Let's open some windows.